Hi, this is Dennis with Second Chance Tackle. Boy, do we have a challenge to look forward to today. You're looking at about 2.5 or 3 Calcutta 700 fishing reels. They were sent in by Asante out in Brooklyn, and he tells me he had one apart, can't figure out how to get it back together again. And he's got some parts reels here, and he's got a hope that, well, we can give this reel a second chance. So if I got some of this right, I think that this is a frame, this is a spare reel, this is a reel that's set up but not the right one, doesn't seem to be working either. This is the reel that becomes the focal point. We have an inside and outside to that, and I think what we've got here is, well, just an attempt, but missing some pieces. This one looks like a spare for one of those other frames. I guess we'll see in a moment. Well, what do you do? Right? How do you deal with this if you did not start the action here, if you will? You're not the one that took it apart. Let's say you picked this up at a flea market or a garage sale, or somebody just gave up on it and was going to throw it in the trash, and you said, "Hold on a moment. Let me have that, see what I can do," that kind of thing, whatever you're up for in a challenge. Well, that's what we're going to try and get through today, and hopefully at the end of this, Asante is going to have a fishing reel he can take fishing again. Well, there's an organized process for this. We're going to go over that, show you a little bit about how to try and rectify the situation. Probably stumble here and there because a lot of this is, well, hoping and praying kind of things that you get it right. If you like these kinds of videos, I'm going to encourage you to subscribe to my channel. If you do subscribe to my channel, please use the notification button. That'll let you know when I'm posting. And, well, if you see something that you'd like as a result of that notification, you can go ahead and do a watch. And if not, skip over it and wait for the next one. I cover all kinds of reels. Some of them a little less dramatic than this. Hopefully most of them less dramatic than this. But one of the things I'll encourage you to do right from the start is take pictures. If you're not taking pictures of the reels you're taking apart, well, you can wind up in a situation like this and kind of, how did I get here sort of a thing. So I would encourage you to do that along the way. And, well, that provides a guidepost back into taking it, putting it back together again when that time comes. There's a couple of different things going on here. We've got some covers, we've got some gears, we've got, I guess this is a spare assembly, the line guide without the pawl. We've got a worm, a yoke, we got a pinion gear. They would belong on here. These look like bridge screws, so let's take those out. Again, taking pictures. And there's a certain amount of this that you can logic through, but when you don't know the reel that well, don't go guessing. Go out to the internet. There's a company out there called Reel Schematic. They have, geez, an awful lot of schematics. Go find a diagram for your reel. So here is your Shimano Calcutta CT700. That's the reel that we have. And, well, most of this stuff looks pretty straightforward. The gear stack looks straightforward. The front end of it looks straightforward. But when we get in here, it's a little bit different. We've got a little shield that goes below. We've got the trip mechanisms and some other things. We can logic through some of this. There's 2 posts here. There's a yoke. The yoke would go over those 2 posts. But wait a minute, where are the springs? So we don't have springs here. Well, I guess it's time to do 2 things because, well, one of them is going to be the easy thing to do, and I think that's going to probably be the key to all of this. So let's do that. We have a reel that appears to be intact. It doesn't seem to be turning very well, but it does appear to be intact. I don't know if it's not turning well just because we simply don't have a good mesh on the pinion gear or it's something else. So we're going to boilerplate this. We're going to take this off, be as careful as we can with that, and try to figure out visually where we where we need to put the pieces when we go back to reassemble. And also, we're going to be looking for those 2 springs, which I'm going to need for the yoke. That schematic, if you learn how to read a schematic, it's going to give you a lot of good information, but then again, some of the times it's not very clear. One of the things this one is not clear about, very clear about, is where does this spring go? And I'm thinking, the way I look at it, it's going to hook to the back of this little piece like that before it sets in the case. But we'll find that out, hopefully, when we take this one apart. Now, I carry a couple of parts trays. I have a tray that I've put some of the pieces and parts that were included with the reel. And I'm going to use a second tray for the parts reel, just so that I don't get them confused. I'll start by taking off the handle, and I guess this would be a good place to say, if you're going to start the servicing of a reel, here's where you would start. You would remove the side plate, remove the handle, remove the star adjuster, and I think the next part, what we're hoping to do here, is to bring the rest of the assembly through without having an issue. Whether we can do that or not is another thing. You know, when I started reel repair all these years ago, I got sage advice from a friend. He said, if you're going to be successful with this, you need 2 things. You need to be patient, and you need to have a sense of humor. And I absolutely treasure that advice, and I can't say for certainty which you need more of. Whether you need more patience or you need more ability to laugh at yourself. Because sometimes when you get a project in like this, well, that's about all you can do. All right, I'm going to be very careful now as I look at this. We have the 2 side plate screws that are holding the bridge on. And I'm hoping when we pull these 2 off, I know we got the screws in there because I see the bridge creeping up on it. That's a good thing. Put that over in this one. Let's take the other one apart now. And I'm holding this down. I don't want anything to go boing. There's always a chance for that. And let's see if we can lift this case up and keep the rest together. Let's call that a success. Well, this is an interesting one. As I look at this, there's a spring laying here. I have no idea where that spring came from. And it looks like we have one that may have been, yeah, that's a bridge post spring. So why we have 3 of them, it's a little bit of a mystery there. I'm going to pull this back, and I think the first answer I got here is that the spring load for that return does not go there because it didn't come out. And then the rest of this pretty much looks like what we have over here. We have the spring posts, we have the yoke, and we have the 2 springs associated with that. So when you try to find where that spring goes, try to go back to your schematic and take a look at the orientation. So they have it hooked below and coming down. One of the things you want to look for in terms of an attach point is where can that go under pressure? Well, first of all, it's not a lot of pressure there. It's a very tough coiled spring. It probably goes over here on the click ratchet. That seems to be within the throw's reach. And we'll take a look. I don't see a spring underneath here. We're going to pull this post. We're going to leave the post in and pull off the main gear. But he already pulled the post on this one. So, looking at it that way, this click ratchet belongs below. Okay, well, one of the things I noticed is the trip is not on this bridge. So there's one over here, and that appears to have the tooth where that spring will hook. So let's take that off of this one. Should just lift up, place it over here. And now it looks like I have the place for the spring. Just like that. That makes sense to the extent that it can make sense. Okay. I think if I look at the schematic now, we need the two springs on, and the yoke. So let's take the yoke, get a little bit of grease onto that. Take the pinion gear, grease that up. And one of the things I'm concerned about here is that there's two different sizes, there appears to be two different size arbors here for the main gear. So that may be one of the changes in the earlier versus the later versions of this reel. There's several versions of the reel. All right, this would go in next. Goes in like that. Maybe it's just me looking at it. Or maybe there's a bushing in here. Yeah, there's a bushing in here that's not in the other case. Wow, there's certainly a lot of things that have moved on with this reel, that's for sure. Hey, this video is probably going to be choppy because I got to stop and think and look and stop and think and look and so on. I removed the bushing from this other case. I'm going to go install that now in this piece. To install that bushing, I simply put it in from the back end and pulled it in with the pliers. Now I guess we can get the main gear assembly. And it doesn't hurt at this point to take a look and see what you got anyway. Let's pull all of this off. Take a picture here because you want to know the orientation of the drag washers. This one seems to be a felt washer that's sticking. So let's get those two out. And there's one more under here. Okay, this is what I was really after. We have the click ratchet, we have a washer, and we have the drag washers up top. We'll service those in a moment. Right now he tells me this is the E-clip for that. If I look on my schematic now, I'm over in this section right here. Yep, you can see the trip levers beneath there. And then on the back end of this we should have a small washer, which I'm not seeing, and an E-clip. Okay, I was able to find a shim washer that will substitute for the one that's missing. We've installed the E-clip. We now have our bridge on. In doing that, I knocked this assembly off a little bit, so let's just go back, put that where it belongs. Re-put that yoke and pinion gear assembly back in place. Okay, next up then was to install the click ratchet. I'll take that washer that goes on top of the click ratchet. I think we have to leave that on the back of the main gear. This is a ridge here. Let's put that back on. We've got a washer that we have to get out here. And I guess this is where I can put a glove on. It looks like we're getting closer to actually using some grease and getting some stuff done here. One of the things you want to do is lubricate the washers. So we're going to use a dry grease for this. If you don't have dry grease, don't worry, use regular fishing reel grease. This is Cal's Universal Dry Grease. That'll be the first one into the main gear. And then what I want to do is I want to use some fishing reel grease on the main gear itself, in the hopes that this thing will be cranking again and need it. Well, if you have any questions on this reel or any reel in particular, just leave them in the comments section. I will try to answer those for you. And I usually do that in the mornings, usually right around the time that I allow for myself in the morning before I do the actual repairs. Just trying to make sure this is seated. We have a little ridge on one here, probably got pressed down. That's probably why it was so hard to get open. So we have three different metals here. First metal up is a round one. That's called a keyed washer. That's followed by a second one of these fabric washers. So get a good amount of grease on this. It's probably been a while since this one has worked. The middle one is an eared washer. It has two turned down studs to grab the slots there. Make sure that they fit into the slots. Last one up is a hard washer. Then the top one is a hard washer with some slots in it that's going to accept your collar for your anti-reverse. So make sure you get that on. And then in your anti-reverse here should be the, just mixing up plates there for a moment. This will be the collar for your anti-reverse clutch. Make sure that's dry. Okay, two more springs, and then I think we've pretty much done what needs to get done on the internal side of this reel. So the next part then is to take this collar, slip that over the two holes and around the main gear, so that it seats like that. Then I'm pretty sure this is the way we found it when we took it off. I'm looking into my box here, and I'm not seeing anything unusual other than, well, time to put the assembly on. All right, you want to line everything up in the assembly. Here's your slot for your release. I'm just checking to make sure that I don't have any other pieces and parts around here. Line this up over the top. Line, gotta come down square through the shaft. Then you need to seat the case like that. And you need to make sure that your screw holes align so that you can attach the case to the bridge. And what we have right now, we have this side plate kind of creeping out, which was causing that issue. So make sure it's tight, and then you'll see your screws line up the way they should. Let's put those two screws in. You need to keep tension on the case now because those springs are loaded there. Once you get one done, you can release the tension. You can put the other side in. Now this is saying I should have a series of tension washers and that I did not find on this one, but they are on the other gear sleeve. So I'm going to remove all of those. I'm going to put them back in just the way they came on. There's 4 of them. And we have the star adjuster. Be careful, you need to hand thread these. If you don't, take your time and be patient with it. You may cross strip it. It appears, kind of looks like that's what's happened already, but eventually you should get it squared. We're not there yet. There we go. And we should have a reel that's turning now. And we have a reel that's turning now. And most importantly, do we get the trip and we get the fire back. This one is cross strip too. This is your spool adjuster. Okay, let's just put this back on the reel. While we're doing this, it doesn't hurt to put a squirt of oil into the backside on the bearing. Got a bushing on the spool. Got brakes on the backside. Nothing really there that needs any attention. Let's go put this back on the reel here. And now we got to figure out where the piece lines up. Look for the screw holes. That's the best indication of how it lines up. Make sure that your seals are nice and tight. Bring this one back. This one too. This one's short for some reason. We're going to tighten 2 out of the 3. We'll come back to the other one, see what's going on there in a moment. More importantly, we're basically concerned with, does the reel work? Put the handle on. There's a little tension spring that goes on top of the handle, on top of the star drag under the handle. Then the handle, and the handle's nut. Okay, time for a final test. Gloves are off. Let's review what we did. We got a couple of segments of reels in the bag. We had one that was the primary reel, and we had one that was pretty much a donor reel, missing a few parts in the bridge. We had another one that had the frame pieces and parts to it. I think to one extent or another, all kinds of pieces and parts were kind of used to get this thing back to where it belongs. First thing we did was we looked at the schematic to make sure that we had an understanding of the mechanics behind it. You know, so there was some funky things going on in here, but again, the reel was apart. So when the reel's apart, you're never quite sure where the issues were. So what we did was we went back to that schematic. We did a step-by-step reassembly. Had some interesting little observations along the way, like where that spring was and how it was missing the little trip lever thing and the like. But eventually we got it all back together, got it assembled, and well, now we just want to show you that the reel is working. Look at that, huh? Nice reel. We have a free spool for casting. You can adjust that with your cast control knob over on the side here. That has a couple of ball bearings in it. It will be a nice spinning reel. We had a issue with the pawl. The cap, the plastic cap was cracked. We had to go to another body of the reels that were included to put that together. We did. Have nice strong drags. We worked to position that. And well, there you go. That's one heck of a project. Kind of an afternoon when you don't have something to do, right? So I want to take a moment here to thank our first responders and essential personnel and everybody who's involved in keeping us safe, fire, police, rescue, and the like. Thank you for your career choices and for your efforts. To everyone, please stay safe, stay well, have a great day trying to figure out jigsaw puzzles if you happen to have one of these. And if you do have one of these that's in good condition, you now know how to service that. So I thank you all for watching. Have a great day.